Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are joining us from today. So, welcome to this APM InFocus webinar support for June 2025 exams. My name is Richa and I work as Education Support Manager at ACCA. So, our session, Manage Your Approach, Master Your Exam Strategy, it is designed to help you with upcoming exam preparation. And today, Steve Willis has joined us to impart APM knowledge. During this session, Steve will showcase how to present exam answers effectively for higher marks through some examples. He will also be sharing his insights on common student challenges and few important tips and giving answers to questions which have been frequently asked by students. So that doesn't mean that we will not be picking the questions live. So there will be live Q&A as well towards the end. As the title suggests, this session, it is an opportunity to learn the exam, approach, and design your strategy in a way that it can maximize your preparation for June 2025 exams. Before I hand over to Steve, I would like to quickly cover some housekeeping items. There is an icon for both slides and media player for you. You need to see them and both during the webinar because you will you will be looking at the slides also, you will be looking at the screen presentation also to make sure that you have selected them. There is an attendee chat function. You can engage with your fellow webinar attendees. You can also let us know that from where you are joining us from. So you should not, but please remember that you should not be sharing too much of your personal details in the chat. There is resource list icon as well. So if you click on that, you will be able to access resources, links, which are very much relevant to APM paper and today's webinar as well. You can rearrange your screen to suit you and resize the windows if you need to. And if at any point you cannot hear what we are saying or you cannot see any visuals, please refresh your browser. Registering for this session means that you will be sent an email tomorrow with details of how you can listen to it again. So don't worry if you miss something or you do have any technical issues, you will be able to access the recording. I'm going to hand over to Steve in a moment and we'll be back with you towards the end of the session. If you would like to ask ACCA or Steve a question in between, then please do post them in Q&A box. Please note that we cannot guarantee responding to everyone directly, either verbally or via web chat, but we hope that the questions we share will be helpful to everyone. With this, I now hand over to Steve. Over to you.
Thank you, Richa. Hello, friends. Hello, APM rock stars. I'm glad to be here with you for this hour. Looking forward to working with you and sharing my tips to helping you pass this challenging exam. Guys, we're going to talk all about exam technique. We're going to talk about presentation of your answer. Let's jump in. My name is Steve. Thank you, Richa, for the great intro. I'm coming to you from Prague, Czech Republic, and I'm very passionate about helping you guys advance in your careers by achieving the ACCA qualification. So we're here, you guys are at APM, so you're at the end of your student journey. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Let's push hard, let's get you through the tunnel. Let's get you a pass in June. Guys, I want to talk about presentation. I want to talk about common problems. And then I'm going to answer your questions. That's on our to-do list for today. And let's talk about presentation. Guys, I see presentation as a pyramid, and there are 3 steps to building this pyramid. And when you have the pyramid in place, you have a structure. A passing answer has a structure behind it. Just like a well-built house has a structure, a well-crafted presentation has a structure, a well-done piece of music has a structure. So your APM answer is no different. And I want to take you through 3 steps to structuring your answer. The first step to setting a structure is to find the embedded tasks. This is an idiosyncrasy of APM, and it's different from SBL and other papers. So I'm going to show you what this is all about shortly. The second piece of the puzzle is finding the verbs and the marks. You can only do this after you have found the embedded tasks. Once you know the verb, once you know the task, you now have your instructions clarified from the CEO or the leadership of the company. Okay, then you can get to developing your ideas. Okay, and we don't do idea development until we know what we need to write. We don't know what we need to write until we have a structure, and we don't know how to make a structure until we understand the specific task from the CEO. Guys, that is the art of passing APM. Now, I just want to show you this. I don't want to talk about it. I want to show you. So at this point, I want to share my screen and go into the exam platform, also known as the practice platform. So guys, I am sharing my screen. There's going to be a moment of delay. So Richa, can you please confirm if everyone can see my screen? I think we can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Team, we're in the platform. And first thing we're going to do, we've got to find what is our challenge. So we go to a requirements tab, and you've seen this before. Requirements are presented in all of the ACCA exams. However, APM has this idiosyncrasy, as I suggested. Now, I'm going to switch over to some screenshots of this so I can draw, okay? I now have the requirements tab open for question 1. And we see we need to write a report. Guys, in APM, it's always a report. SBL, it could be different documents. It's always a report. And I've got to do 3 things, it seems. I've got to respond to instructions for work around critical success factors, key performance indicators. I've got to provide an evaluation of the value for money service provided. And I see I've got to do something about league tables when measuring performance. Now, side exam technique tip, always, read these requirements before you go into the exhibits, because you need to know what you are looking for. If you read the exhibits first and then end up at this, you're going to lose a lot of time. It's like going into the supermarket. You need to make a shopping list before you go in. But guys, I have a problem. What do I need to do with critical success? I don't know what to do. So this is the art of APM. We find the embedded requirements now. So look at this. Critical success factors is the task. And if I look at my exhibits, the exhibits line up with the requirements. And I see that it's the second exhibit that is linked to this requirement. The third goes with value for money. So I'm going to find the specific instructions in that exhibit. Now, one thing you can do, you can go into the organizational info and read the first sentence, right? Find out what kind of a company we have. But then I go to requirements, and now I'm going to go into the exhibit. So I've got to find the embedded task. I'm not going to read the full story. I'm going to come over here. When I click on this button, I get this exhibit. And we get more information in the story. But guys, in the second half of the exhibits, they give you the instructions. Got to find these instructions. That's the first step to passing. You find the instructions. It unlocks the professional marks and the technical marks. So I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to find the ask. He wants you to provide justifications for why the changes were made. Why were the changes made? Can't answer that now, but I just know what I need to do. Then, using the above critical success factors, provide justified recommendations of up to 2 KPIs. So people, we're looking at the reason the pass rates are low for APM. It's about exam technique. It's about starting off with finding the embedded requirements. Guys, I'm looking in the attendee chat. Give me a thumbs up there. Give me a smile. Give me some recognition that you recognize the importance of finding the embedded task. Looking for some love, some ACCA love. All right. Now, the next step, once we find these embedded tasks, as I just showed you, we've got to now hone in on the verbs. You guys, the verbs are critical. So what did we find? Provide justifications for the changes. Then we need to provide justified recommendations for up to 2 KPIs. Then, suggest new KPIs, and now there's data down here that we can use. So I call this a compound requirement because one requirement has multiple verbs. Okay. So step 1, we find the embedded tasks. Step 2, we find the verbs. So if we go to the next one, let's look at this. I'm going to put it on the screen. You guys read it just for a moment. See if you can find the embedded task here. Okay, I'm going to set it up for you. You guys got 15 seconds. Can you find the requirement? Friends, this is why APM is a challenging exam. You know, it's a business role play. You're under time pressure. You have to help the CEO solve their business problems. CEO has heard of the 3 E's, but wants an explanation. So guys, there will be marks for explaining what each of those terms means. Okay? Then he requires an evaluation using the data of whether this organization is providing value for money. So people, one thing that we see in common with all of these verbs, slight digression here, guys, slight digression, is that in APM, we are expressing judgment about something. We're giving a recommendation. Why should you do this? Everything needs to be justified. So we express judgment. Is something good? Is something bad? You should take this action and not the other action. And this is why you should do it. Okay, so you've got to express judgment and back up your ideas with evidence from the scenario. I'm sorry, I couldn't help sharing that tip because it's so important. Back to structure. Guys, we have found the verbs. We found the tasks. Now we go back here and I look at the marks. Okay, I'm looking at the marks and I need to figure out how much work I need to do. So a starting place is this. If I see 16 marks, I'm going to do this, 16. I'm going to cut it in half, and that would be 8. So guys, that would be the bare minimum of developed ideas that I need to give to the marker to get a pass. But guys, I need to risk averse because the marker might not like every idea. So guys, I'm going to add a little more, a little buffer. You know, I'm going to add 2 marks here. So I'm going to then be working for a rough idea, right? 10 marks, 10 ideas. Maybe I can get more out of it. Now, if I found a requirement that I love, like evaluate the performance report or evaluate the implementation of the ERPS, I like those requirements, you know, so maybe I do a bit more there because the ideas will be flowing. But if it's, you know, assess the economic, do value-based management, for example, or transfer pricing, you know, then I'm not going to be able to come up with 16 ideas quickly. I'm going to fall back on my system here. So guys, step 1, you find the embedded tasks. Step 2, you got to find the verbs. Now we can make a structure. And look at this. Well, let me show you this first. Let's come back here. I will now spend some time setting up my document before I go for the ideas. Have a look at the top here. Now, this is that idiosyncrasy, another idiosyncrasy from APM. You always do a report and you get professional marks for making the report look like a report. If you give report headers, if you give an introduction, if you structure your answer, if you group your ideas together, if you answer the question that is asked, if you avoid drifting into long definitions, you're going to start scooping up the communication skills marks. Now, guys, I have the introduction here written out. But what I would do in the real exam situation, I would just put do it later. Don't forget. I'd make a little note to myself because the introduction will flow off of my fingertips after I've written the answer. If I try to do it first, I don't know what I'm going to, it takes more time. All right, so I'm getting professional marks here by setting up my answer. Now, look at the structure. Guys, the structure was around the critical success factors. So I bring in those critical success factors as headings. Guys, headings. If they ask you to evaluate the balanced scorecard and suggest additional KPIs, your structure would have 4 pieces. There's 4 pieces in a balanced scorecard. if they asked you to assess the implementation of the ERP system, you'll have two. You'll have pros, cons, and maybe an overall. If they said evaluate the impact of the external environment on performance management using the 5 forces model, how many sections would we have? 5. You got it. So my headings came in, and then the first verb was to justify the change. So guys, I'm using a dry business writing style. It's called parallel structure. Every section is going to be written the same, okay? And then I'm going to do 2 KPIs, up to 2 KPIs. Now look at this. This is a tip that I share with my students. I'm sharing it with you guys too. One of the biggest causes of a marginal fail is not justifying your answers, right? So you justify your answer by saying because. I think this is a good idea because. If you say because, it forces you to continue writing to justify your answer. And then you have to state the obvious. So every idea that you make, even if you think it's obvious, state the obvious. Okay. Now, I do this. This takes some time. In question 1, I recommend you use 15 minutes just right for this planning, just for reading the exhibits, planning your structure. It's like being the architect before you start building the house, right? You gotta be an architect. So you do all of this work, guys, and then after you've read, after you've thought, after you've planned, think about spending 1.5 minutes per mark for the actual, typing up your answer. So that's 1.5 minutes per mark per idea, but you have to test that in the mock exam, in the practice platform, because you might need to adjust it for your own speed. So guys, look at this. I found the embedded task, I found the verbs, and I found a compound question. So I'm doing several things under each heading. Now, when I'm all done, my answer might look like this. So this is two sections written up. Now, we're trying to provide justification for the change. So the first critical success factor sounded more general, protecting and supporting those at harm. The advisor wanted to emphasize improvement. There we go. With the words greater and more, because the previous government failed to protect those at risk of harm. Now, DLAND police will be evaluated against how it improves protection. So guys, we are looking at a developed point. We're also looking at exploration into why the change was made further. So there's potential for a follow-on mark, and potentially professional marks could start racking up. Now, look at this, a section. Each revised critical success factor had 2 things to do. First thing, second thing, KPIs. Look at this, parallel structure. First thing, second thing. So guys, I can tell when I'm looking at a mock exam and it has a nice structure and it's not too long, it doesn't have to be the longest script that I've seen. When it looks like this, it's written efficiently. I can kind of sense that this one is a good one. It's probably going to be a pass. When I see the wall of words, when I see someone who's writing stream of consciousness, I can kind of tell right away, ooh, this is going to be difficult to mark. Ooh, it's going to be hard to find the ideas, and it's probably not going to work out. Now look at this. KPI, population per number of police officers. This KPI will show how many police officers are at service for a certain group of citizens. So many people stop their discussion of a KPI right there. And this is now describing the KPI, not justifying it. Right? One of the reasons people fail, because we're used to business writing and being really, really efficient in email. But guys, we've got to develop the idea further, justify. There is a huge difference, for example, if there was one police officer for 1,000 people versus one for 500. The higher the number of police officers, the better protected the people feel. They have more time to deal with their problems. Guys, marks are happening there. Write a little bit more. Develop your idea. State the obvious. Now, everyone doesn't have to be as huge as this one. Response time to an incident within the allocated time is good KPI because it shows how fast the police can respond to those at risk of harm. The higher the rate, the more protected the citizens will feel. Guys, look at this. Because. Say because in your answer, or as, right? You got to use that conjunction to link to writing more. Okay, team? Look at this, one more. This critical success factor is better than previously stated. This is the old one, because there is a high probability that once they are caught, they are brought before the court. The original one, ensure that criminals are caught and brought before the court. Well, in the story, they tell us that if you get caught, you go to court. So we don't need that part of the critical success factor. Be better at catching criminals. Okay, there's no issue with the second part. The new CSF focuses on the specific need to improve catching criminals. That is justification for the change. That is scoring marks. So guys, I wanted to share with you that approach to structuring your answer. If you are finding this useful, highly recommend your next step. Book out 3 hours and 15 minutes and do the ACCA mock exam. If you can do it this weekend, would be perfect. Then when you watch the debrief video, I'm going to be saying this and much, much more. See, I'm going to share with you a whole bunch more tips, how to use the first 15 minutes. I'll show you how to structure essentially all of the questions, and you'll look at good examples of student work. Okay, guys? So 3 steps to structuring: embedded task, verbs and marks, and then ideas at the end. Can I confirm that we're back to the slides, our slideshow now? I'd like to be back at our slideshow, so I've stopped the screen share.
Yes.
You guys see the slides? Wonderful. Guys, At this point, I want to go over what I think are the 3 biggest student challenges. This comes from my experience marking mock exams working with students who get a comfortable pass, who get the country high score, the regional high score, but I work with a lot of resitters, and I help a lot of resitters. So, guys, the first common challenge is not being in the right mindset. When you hit that exam hall, when you open up that screen at home, you need to imagine you are a consultant. You have one mission in the 3 hours, 15 minutes. Help the CEO solve their business problem. You do not need to prove your knowledge. You don't need to give big definitions. You don't need to be overly thinking about the professional marks and trying to reverse engineer where are you going to get the professional marks. You are going to find the embedded tasks. You're going to set up the structure. Then you're going to read all of the exhibits. I don't know if I made that clear, but definitely read the entire story before you write up anything, because you need the big picture of the whole company, and something you find in a later exhibit could be useful in the embedded task from an earlier exhibit, right? So read the whole story. Imagine you work there. Are you helping the CEO solve their specific answers? Imagine, would they hire you? Would you be proud to give your answer to a colleague as a draft report? Hey, colleague, the boss wanted this. Have a look. Does it look okay? Right? So that's the mindset. Guys, writing skills. So once you are in the right mindset, then you can begin crafting an answer that will get a pass. If you're not in the right mindset, it's not going to work out. Now, you only begin writing after you've created your structure. The verbs that you're going to find in APM: evaluate, critically evaluate, assess, recommend, advise. You're not going to be focusing on describing things, explaining things. So a common cause of failure is students who spend too much time describing what they've seen in the scenario. Just get right down to it. The marking team knows the scenario. So express your judgment. Implementation of the ERP system will be difficult because the organization has decentralized IT and they have no competencies in modern IT systems, because we see they use department level spreadsheets for managing performance. I made my point. Implementation is going to be difficult. And then I said, because, and I said, why? I didn't start my answer by reciting what I found in the exhibit. We see a company that's using department level spreadsheets for finance and for logistics. We also see that there's no IT manager, and we also see that each business unit has their own IT systems. Don't start your answer like that. Just get right down to it. Implementation will be difficult because they have fragmented IT. For example, boom, boom, boom. That is how you craft an APM answer. Okay? Got to say because. Did I mention that today? Did I mention justifying your answer? You got to justify your answer. Now, get in the habit as well of developing your ideas a bit further. Sometimes you might not have the time to develop every idea further, but your best ideas, develop them a bit further. How do you develop an idea further? You say, for example. You give a rich example. You say, however. And then you can bring some contrapoints into your argument as well. I recommend that the company implement a modern ERP system. This will improve the accuracy of the data. It will allow them to develop real-time reporting. For example, they could implement a logistics digital dashboard that shows any real-time delays, it shows the lead times, real-time, etc. However, this will be difficult for the company as they don't have competencies in IT. Something like that, okay? Now, another great way you can always develop your ideas further. Suggest additional information that would help you give more advice. We see the average salary of the staff is the highest in Division A. However, a breakdown of that staff would let me give better analysis. I would like to understand what percentage of the staff are administrators versus researchers, because it's the researchers doing the work, right? So really treat it like a business role play. Have fun, be inquisitive. Are you helping the leadership solve their problem? Guys, do that, you're going to get a pass. Guys, ineffective preparation is my final red flag, okay? The first stage in preparation is to go around the syllabus broadly. Do you understand in big picture terms what Six Sigma is? Do you understand in big picture terms what Kaizen costing is? Do you understand in big picture terms what we do with the 5 forces model? Do you understand how to do a basic target costing illustrative working? Do you understand the types of budgets? Guys, once you go around the whole syllabus, then you should just get right into answering questions and then go back and go more deeply into the areas as required. But you don't need to treat it as a university exam. I know around me, people that do university exams around here, they're very stressed because they have to read all of these books and then they don't know exactly like what chapter is going to be examined, and then they have to kind of recite that whole chapter. It's a completely different approach. So step 1, go around the syllabus broadly. Remember that nowadays the models are actually given to you as exhibits. So in the exhibit, in the example I just showed you about the value for money, they told you the 3 E's. So it's not about like brute memorization of it. It's about what does this model use? How can I use it? How can I use it to give valuable advice? How can I use it to structure my advice? Does it have any limitations? That's what you do first. Then go into past exam questions, okay? And at this point, guys, it's only past exam questions. It's too late to be reading textbooks. So do questions. If you're ready to do a question and you don't know the topic, go check that topic, then come back to the question. So guys, three common pitfalls. Not being in the right mindset, not understanding the approach to writing skills, and then ineffective preparation. Team, let me go to your questions now because I want to cover your most commonly asked questions, okay? Guys, resitters, I feel your pain. I was a resitter. I got stuck on financial reporting 3 times, I think. Guys, what you got to do, put all of that in the past. Don't let it put you in a bad mood any longer. Don't let it creep into your thoughts. You got to decide at this point, what are you going to change? Something that you have been doing is not working. What are you going to change? For me, it was learning about exam technique. And what I would do, my final try on financial reporting was a success because I learned the templates for all of those tricky financial reports like the consolidated statement of financial position. And then I had structured practice. I would get up early 2 or 3 times a week in the lead up to the exams. I'd get up at like 5 in the morning. I'd have my study book on the kitchen table. I'd be ready to go. I would just get up and go sit at the table. I wouldn't give myself time to hit snooze. I'd have my suit ironed, ready to go, because those were the days when you had to wear a suit to work. And I would do 1.5 hours of intense practice. Now, for APM, I want to give you another tip about how you can practice. It's not efficient to try and write up, every question. It will take too long. I want you to think like you're a marathon athlete. You're going to run a marathon in 2.5 weeks. You don't prepare for the marathon by running marathons, do you? You prepare for a marathon by doing little running challenges. Oh, tomorrow I've got to run hills. So that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to run 3 hills. What I recommend you do, practice the entire structuring part of answering a question, right? The structuring part, you do that first. Next thing I want you to do, practice identifying the ideas that you're going to develop in your answer. So if we're doing that, evaluate the implementation of the ERP. Can you identify, the 6 or 7 points that you're going to make? Guys, now what you do, get out your phone, put on a stopwatch, put it on for 4.5 minutes, not 17 minutes, 4.5 minutes. In those 4.5 minutes, just write up the first 3 ideas in perfect exam approach. When the time is up, stop what you're doing. Go back and look at those ideas. Did you make your point? Did you develop your point? Did you express judgment? Did you link to the story? Okay. Could you do that in the time allowed? Or were you really stressed on the time management? So it's better to do that activity over a wider range of questions than just to do like, I'm going to do 1 question in 1 hour. Right? You can get more done if you break your writing out, as I just suggested, write up 3 out of the 8 or 9 ideas. Okay, guys. Now, if you are stuck resitting, if you're like resitting for a 3rd, 4th, 5th time, you really should consider getting a marked mock exam. We didn't have this back in the day when I was a student. The only way you could get a marked mock exam was if you went on a very expensive course. But now, with the internet, we have new segments of the market. So you can find services, companies that will let you just do the mock exam. Suggest you do that. You can also then do our mock exam, the ACCA mock exam, and go through my debrief videos, our debrief videos, because I think you'll find them quite helpful. Guys, any tips to earn the professional marks? You can watch I have a YouTube video on how to earn the professional marks. It's like 15 minutes long. But you know what I say at the end? I say at the end of my video what I learned at the tutors conference, what the examining team say in all of the examiners' reports. They say this: there is a strong correlation between the professional marks and the technical marks. So students who do better on technical marks are also earning the professional marks. Do you know why that is? Because they are answering the question that is asked. If they ask you to critically evaluate the XYZ, and you have a plethora of negative or contrapoints, and those are backed up with evidence from the story, right? You're going to be earning skepticism, you're going to be earning technical marks. If one of the managers in the stories makes a comment like, I know sales are dropping, but nobody's complaining, so we don't have a quality problem, that is there to be challenged, right, when you are looking into the issue. So if you see a statement that's obviously wrong, make sure you bring that up as evidence. So guys, to earn the professional marks, step one, make the report look like a report. That's going to get you on track for the communication skills marks. And then answer the question that is asked. If they ask you to evaluate something, bring in evidence from the story, everything is justified, give a conclusion, you're going to get those A and E marks. Use examples to develop your ideas. You'll get the business acumen marks. Guys, I showed you this. How much do you write? If you get a 10-mark question, cut that in half. 5 would be the bare minimum. Add a couple of marks for buffer. So try to develop 7 ideas. Always do your best things first. That's the beauty of the word processor. Like if you like the idea that you wrote at the end the best, just copy paste it up to the top. So right, you have more development at the top, less development in the middle. You run out of time with maybe a couple of ideas, not completed, you can get a pass. Guys, tips for self-marking. What you need to do, take a highlighter to a model solution, print out that model solution. Now, you got to go into the model solution. The number of words, you can't achieve that amount of writing in the time. So just don't even do that. Highlight the ideas. Now take a highlighter to your answer. Highlight your ideas. Are you in the same ballpark? Are your ideas similar? That's the first step. Then you need to look at your answer and circle with a red pen all of the references to the story, all of the examples that you give, all of the linking to the evidence. So you're only going to get the mark if that idea is justified. And you can learn all about this if you check out the Read the Mind of the Marker article. It's awesome because you're going to see real student scripts. You're going to see the real marking. Okay? And then also just make sure your ideas make sense in the context of the scenario. If you're looking at a not-for-profit and you suggested EVA as a new KPI to measure shareholder wealth, you're not going to get any credit because the not-for-profit doesn't have shareholders. Guys, exam approach. Start with section A, 1 hour, 45 minutes. Get that out of the way. Then go to section B, 45 minutes each each question, check them out, do the easier one first, do that entire structuring exercise that I showed you, get that skeleton in place, then you start with the easiest requirements. Do the easy requirements first. Alrighty, friends, I want to go to your live questions right now. Let me go into my special folder. Give me a moment here to do that. Guys, you got to put your questions in Q&A, not the chat. Let me have a look. Someone is suggesting that they have trouble generating ideas in your head, right, in the exam. What you need to do is simulation, because the exam stress is blocking your muse. It's blocking your creativity. You have to do what firefighters do. You have to simulate the stressful experience. So when you're doing question practice, I'd like you to really close your eyes, imagine that exam hall, and then get started in the exam conditions, in your mind. And when you're having trouble generating ideas, a great thing to do is look at a real example of something. I do that on my courses all day long. We could look at an integrated report, and in 2 minutes, we could find the 6 capitals. We could see examples of the 6 capitals, and we have it covered. You could read the textbook for 15 minutes, and it's still a little fuzzy. What are they talking about? Or you can watch a quick YouTube video, like radio frequency ID tag systems, ERP systems, Six Sigma. You can find a 2 to 4 minute video on any of those topics. It really brings it to life. So after you do a question, find a real example, and that's going to really help you develop ideas, generate ideas. Would I follow the same technique for both Section A and Section B? I would follow the identical approach with one change. Section A has 5 communication skills professional marks. Section A has the report. Okay, Section B does not. So you will do the exact same, find the embedded requirements, find the verbs, find the number of marks, develop your identify your ideas, write up your ideas, but don't do any of the report business, okay? That's the one thing that's different. Otherwise, it's the same approach. Here's a great question about recommending financial KPIs. When it comes to recommendation of financial metrics, we don't have sufficient information in the exhibits, could we suggest one, make up a number, and explain how it's relevant to the company's performance? What I recommend you do first, use the data that they give you and then turn that into information. There should be enough to get started, okay? There should be enough to get started. And then when your amazing creativity kicks in, you could then suggest, oh, wow, if we had this information, we could also measure this. It would help us in this way. I don't think you need to make up the number and then do a fake assessment. If you just say, if we had that KPI, it would tell us this and this and this, that would achieve the same number of marks. And it's a great thing to do. Wonderful way to develop your ideas. Wonderful way to earn credit. Here's a great question. Would I recommend going through all the exhibits first before answering a question, or take one at a time? Yeah, it's very clear that the exhibits line up with the requirements. But read everything before you answer, so your answer is rich and full, and then you have lots of ideas upon which to draw. Okay? Read everything first. Here's a question about what makes a mark. And I think some of the misunderstanding is driven by the word point, because we often say bullet point. I want to restate it. You get the mark for expression of a complete idea. A complete idea is presented in full sentences. So we're not using sentence fragments in this exam. Okay, no sentence fragments, everything written out, in concise, short, crisp sentences, but you got to use full sentences. Everything, and then your idea needs to be linked to that verb. So when you're evaluating, your idea is expression of judgment, and it's linked to the story with evidence. Boom, that is a mark. Not just the identification of the issue. What's the issue? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Why? That combination gives you a mark. Then when you say, however, also, if we had this, that would also give you a follow-on mark. So you can get 2 marks in a well-done paragraph. Okay, the marking team are looking for that. Check out the read the mind of the marker example. It's all explained right there. Okay, there's a couple of questions about this point, mark, point, ideas. It's all right there. Someone's asking for a list of exam questions. I don't have a list of exam questions handy. Let me send one to the ACCA team, and they can put it as an exhibit. But I want to give you a caveat. It's not the only thing you have to do. Those are good questions to get started. But the key to practicing questions, you want to practice from the more recent exams rather than the older ones. Like, if you can do more recent is better. Now, you must, did I say must? You've got to do the entire syllabus area D, because one question always comes up from that. It's the shortest chapter in any APM book, and there are 7 topics. So we know with 99% certainty, you're going to get one of the one of the modern performance management frameworks, building block model, performance pyramid, or you might get value-based management, activity-based management, and I want to chuck into that list balanced scorecard, value for money, and then league tables, right? So I'm going to say it again. Start with balanced scorecard, then do building block model, then do performance pyramid, then do not-for-profits, do value for money, league tables. Guys, you know that comes up all the time. When you're done with that, you got to do activity-based management, value-based management. And guys, I think 25 marks is like going to come from one of those topics. Then you got to go into section A. You got to do the usual suspects there. You got to go down that performance management hierarchy. You got to do all the questions around evaluating, recommending, suggesting KPIs? Are the KPIs aligned with the critical success factors? I'm digressing. Guys, check my YouTube. I've got a lot of videos there about all of this. Check the ACCA student support videos. There are awesome videos there about the topics. So you got to go there for more information on those ideas. I'm going to give you one more question, guys. Is there a secret to choosing the right questions to answer in section B? Well, there's no secret. Easy things first. Do the easier question first. After you structure, do the easiest requirement. Run out of time on difficult things, not easy things. Thank you, guys. Richa, over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much. I have been there. I think there were so many questions, and you have been able to pick quite many of them. So with this, we come to an end of the session. But before we close the session, I would request all the students to please stay with us for 1 or 2 minutes more and just answer one poll to us. It's the time for you now to answer us. So here is one poll where we want to know that do you have any idea on the mock and debrief dates? So there are 4 options available here. You need to choose the correct one. It's okay even if you are not able to choose the right one, because we are here to tell you the information on mock and debriefs. So I can see the answers are coming, but they are coming very slow. So if you can quickly answer the poll so that, okay, just half a minute more to the answers, please. This is not a very difficult question, and this is not an exam question where if you write the wrong answer, your marks are getting deducted. So don't worry at all. And we are not going to judge anyone here. It's just for your information only. So just with a countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. With this, I will push the poll results now. So here on the screen, we can see very quickly that 43.4% of the students who have responded, they have said 9th May and 16th May. That's great to know that you were knowing about these dates. So yes, the debriefs have been released today on ACCA Student Study Resources YouTube channel. The link is available in the resource section, and mocks are already available from 9th May onwards, which are there on CP Practice platform. Again, the link is available in the resource section. So please do not forget to pick the link from there, and do use them for your references while doing your exam preparations. Last but not the least, I would like to quickly remind you about these 3 important study platforms, which is CV Practice platform, which I mentioned just now. We talked about ACCA Study Resources YouTube channel just now, and the third one is ACCA Study Hub, so which is actually the hub of all the important exam resources. All the lessons are available there with the quiz, with the practice questions. Do make use of them as well. So with this, I would like to conclude the session for today. And a big thanks to Steve for taking out time to give this APM knowledge to you. And thank you to all of you for being here and joining this session today. And I would like to mention that whosoever has registered for this webinar, they will be getting an email tomorrow with the details, like how you can listen to them again. And finally, thank you everyone for joining in, and wish you all the very best for your exam preparations as well as exam update. Thank you everyone. And also thanks to the team who is behind us, working with us to deliver this session successfully. Thank you all.